Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
What's happening, everybody? I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Account for Your Life podcast. And today, here's what we're talking about: the blueprint that is your life. And so today, I'm just going to share with you a quick story about someone special to my family, and something I learned about him that I didn't know, and something that we can take and apply to our lives, because this blueprint that's your life, it's everything. So guys, I want to jump right into this just by talking about gentleman. His name is James Moore. James Moore, 87 years old. James Moore was born on, what was that? I can't remember the exact year, but he was born 87 years ago. But he was born on leap year, February 29th. So imagine a person, their birthday is February 29th. So technically they don't get a birthday every 4 years? But he was 87 years old. He passed away, just a few weeks ago. I had an opportunity to see James as he was pretty much going down. Like things was looking bad. I just so happened I'd gone to see my dad. It's my dad's last brother, and I'd gone to see my dad a few weeks ago, and we were having some discussions, and then his phone rings. He's getting FaceTimed from my cousin, who's basically giving the phone to his dad, which is my Uncle James. And so he gives him the phone, and then my dad just basically puts the phone in front of me so I can see him as well, not knowing that would be the last time I'd see him. But when I saw him, I realized that, wow, he didn't look the same. It's interesting because, when our time comes, it just comes. We don't get a chance typically to stave off the time. It just says, hey, it's time to go. And when I saw him, it was, he didn't look as good as he looked, I think, a few months before, because I saw him just before Thanksgiving of 2022. But he didn't look as well. So James passed away. But I learned some things at the funeral. It's not like, when you go to a funeral and people have good stories to talk about. And one of the, I guess he's a cousin, but he's not really my cousin. He's just on the other side. One of the cousins is speaking about Uncle James, and he's talking about something that's very interesting. He's talking about the characteristics of who he was and how everything was precise. So when you think about your life, and when we're precise in our thinking, when we're precise about what we're doing, when we're precise about who we are, when we're precise about what it is that we plan to do, then it makes our life pretty much simpler. I was looking at a scripture, which I had to read it in the Message because I thought it was real cool. And so I'm going to share it with you in James chapter 1, verse 22 to 24. And it says this: it says, "Don't fool yourself into thinking that you are a listener when you are anything but, letting the word go in one ear and out the other. Act on what you hear. Those who hear and don't act are like those who glance in the mirror, walk away, and 2 minutes later have no idea who they are." And have no idea who they are and what they look like. That's coming from James chapter 1, 22 to 24. Why did I read that? Because it's nothing like not really knowing what you believe, but all you do is say what you believe. Okay, let me say it again. Not knowing what you believe, but all you do is just say what you believe. When I say not knowing, it means that you're not living the way that you say. So part of James is talking about faith, and how a lot of people, want to talk about how they have faith, and a lot of people want to talk about how they believe It's funny about that word, how they believe in something. Be live and be like believe, root word lie. Oh, you didn't realize that the root word is lie. My brother had to point that out to me. He says, the root word of believe is lie. I said, I knew believe that word was not the best word to talk about knowing something, because when you know something, you just know it and you don't actually have to believe, and nobody has to believe it with you. Think about that when you know something. So let's keep going here. Um, so the story's being shared about my uncle, and and he always had a way of demonstrating what he was saying. I'm going to say that again. He had a way of demonstrating what he was saying, not by saying, hey, just do it like this. No, he just demonstrated a life. And the cousin said this. He says, you know what I picked up on? Not just what he said. I picked up on what he was doing, and I took the blueprint that he lived by and I installed it into my own life. See, guys, our children, our children will not technically listen to what we say. People don't listen to what we say. What people do is they see what you do and then they model what we do. So come on, man, if I'm an idiot and I'm doing dumb stuff and I'm telling my sons oh, this is how you should live, and I'm living totally opposite, what's going to happen to them? Then they technically will get the blueprint of living opposite. And then I'm trying to figure out, well, what happened? Well, my life was the blueprint of life. And then they just picked up on all the stuff that I was doing. But what if our lives represented something bigger than that? As I listen to people talk about my Uncle James, and I listened to my cousin Jeffrey talk about Uncle James and my cousin Randy. Oh my goodness, they had some funny stories because Uncle James he was scary. He didn't have much to say. And, I was like, man, Uncle James seemed like a ball. Well, he wasn't really a ball buster, but he just didn't say much. He just seemed rough. His blueprint was, look, man, I ain't gonna mess around just saying anything because talk is cheap. Listen, it's nothing like someone always talking and can't back it up with anything. It's kind of like, as a believer, look, I don't even like using that word anymore, but as someone who knows who he is, I'm like, man, I'm talking to my oldest son yesterday, and I was like, yeah, in 20 years, I want to turn over everything to him. But here's the thing, I don't have anything to turn over to him right now. When I say that, it's not big enough. The blueprint is not built enough to turn it over. Why? Well, you got to live it. So what should we take away from this today? Listen, we have to live the way we would like others to see us. We have to live the way we would like our kids to live. If we want our kids to live a certain way, we want to make sure that man, if I want my kids to be super successful, let me be so successful that they have a hard time catching up with me. I don't want my kids passing me. Meaning, I don't want it to be easy. You follow me? I don't want it to be easy for them to pass me. Oh, well, I got to, a lot of times parents be like, well, I didn't get a degree and they got a degree now. And so they're doing way better than me. The bar was too low. The blueprint was too easy. Now they jumped the bar. They're just like, what next? They don't have anywhere else to go. So if we don't have our sights set up on something really big, right? Then we're lowering the bar for them. Because think about it. I remember when I finished college, I was like, well, my dad never finished college, and here it is. I got a college degree, boy. My mom never finished college. Then my mom did finish college, right? My mom finished college. And here's the thing. I said, well, they ain't open no business. Let me go open the business. So now but then that wasn't enough. Because just merely having a business, just because my parents didn't do it, is not big enough. Because then you wind up just having a job. You wind up just living a life that's just basic because, well, at least I'm doing better than my parents did. What? No. The bar has to be high. Make your blueprint so that when kids look, they have to get serious. I'm gonna say it again. Make your blueprint, make your life so that it's so big that your kids have to get serious because they're like, that's what dad did. That's what mom did. What? Wow. Okay. Dad, how'd you do that? Mom, you you gotta show me. Now they're willing to listen because they know. Now they can see that mom and dad was more serious than I knew. That's a blueprint to follow. See, if we lay the foundation is so low, man, I'm gonna let you go right after this. If we lay the foundation so low for people to just say, well, at least I'm better than, at least I'm a little bit further than. We've created a whole society of people graduating from college, getting a better job, and saying, at least I'm a little bit further along. Forget a little bit further. Somebody got to get so far that everybody's trying to catch up. They realize that that's the best blueprint to follow. I'm going to follow it, and I'm not going to sit around talking. I'm not going to be like the person in James chapter 1, verse 22 to 24, when it says, don't fool yourself into thinking that you are a listener when you're anything but letting the word go in one ear and out the other. What is he saying? He's saying to you, listen, all you're doing is talking. It's kind of like, I was talking to my bro yesterday, and I said, when I first started doing the podcast, I was afraid. I was afraid because I was talking. I was talking about something, and I wasn't quite, you know what I'm saying? But you know what? And that's when, and so that's when I said, you know what? The word that's been written in me said, don't worry, don't fret, just go, because you will build your wings while you are in the air. And one day you're going to look up, you're going to be flying so high that you cannot believe how far you can fly, where you can fly to, and what you've created. Keyword, what you've created for those who are following you. But don't worry about who's going to follow. You follow yourself. And if you follow yourself, man, you will be blessed because you are blessed. Guys, I appreciate you for joining me for this episode of the Account for Your Life podcast. This is Jay Moore. I'm the Healthy Accountant. My life, my purpose is to help people like you account for their life, their business, so that they can be the person they've created to be. God bless. I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, listening friends. We are so glad you invested this time with us. Always remember, you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.